Hello, hello, welcome in everybody. We are here. We got a point. Historically, this is the type of game you don't show up for. This is the type you will go, I got something else better to do today than watch the team play. Maybe I'll do that. Because traditionally, this is pretty much the worst, circle it on the calendar for worst type of game we typically play. We got everyone who's out. We typically get 4, 5, 6 goals hanged on us. But not this time. No, this time we were able to nick a point away from a Eastern rival, a team that will be in the playoff hunt, and we did it short-staffed, and we were able to at least defy a little bit of this nasty miasma that hangs around us, that once we go down, we get punched in the face when we're just out. We were able to claw back. So everyone kind of thought, oh wow, Atlanta just conceded 2 within 5 minutes of each other. Yeah, this is not looking good. This is kind of what we've seen this horror story before, and it's happening again. Luckily though, we were able to claw one back. It wasn't the greatest way of doing it, but I'll take it. Again, we had very few players to play with. This is away in MLS, and it's against an Eastern Conference playoff mainstay. So to me, all in all, this is a good result. Do I like the way it got there? Not necessarily, but we got there, so I'll take it. This week, we survive. So, AJ, welcome in. How are you doing? How did you feel about it? Give us your instant reactions.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, this is a game that, like you said, probably a lot of people passed in terms of watching, for obvious reasons. When you have 10 players out, and only one of them is due to injury, and makeshift defense, makeshift midfield, and the attack, actually looked pretty decent at times, but it is still, there are moments where it's heart and mouth, and we look kind of at least stitched together in some aspects in attack early on. There's that shot from Ranchuk that's, hitting the crossbar, and, we look kind of hungry. We look like we want to make something happen, which is great. Will Riley also looked kind of the part a little bit. He looked always available. He looked like a guy who interested, in defense as well. Did he get a yellow that, is a little bit of an inexperience? Yes. But the fact that he was able to stay on that yellow in spite of everything that happened, and then, last-ditch tackle in the box as well, late in the match, brave, but needed. And so, yeah, the injury to Tristan Muyamba is really gonna hurt if it's serious, especially with all the injuries that we've had in midfield, and especially how we're looking. If this is international breaks for us, where we just don't have anybody, so Will Riley will be someone that we will need to rely on, or we should probably get another piece in the transfer window. But yeah, it's like defense looked as good as they could in spite of all the, just lack of shielding in a sense at times. And yeah, Evander just made us look silly, kind of like Messi a little bit. It's sitting guys down, and yeah, Edwards. It's that there are moments where he looks okay, but then it's the moments where he makes a mistake And then, yeah, it's that really bad yellow and that deflection, which is very unfortunate. I mean, yeah, he's trying to, make up for the mistake, make amends, but unfortunately, it deflects into an area where Braguzan, like both of these goals, not his fault. And yeah, it's a game where somehow, because yes, you put the ball in dangerous areas. If you put it in the 6-yard box, things will happen. And it was smart. It was smart from Emmanuel Atlutd to kind of make that kind of curving run, put off the defender. Defender didn't, inexperienced, no Miles Robinson. Yeah, it definitely helps us in that he didn't know where ELL was. And yeah, Saba putting a ball right in where he needed to be. It's fortuitous. We escape where we probably in other games would have dropped points here, dropped all 3 points. So it's, it's a sigh of relief, but it is also, there's this like kind of lingering feeling we kind of could have done better.
Oh yeah,
we could have actually scored more goals.
Yeah, it's all the same kind of again. You saw it in again. MLS has that handy momentum index. Second half comes around. It's first half all Atlanta United. Second half literally all Cincinnati, which is just, they gotta fix that. It's ridiculous. The drop off is precipitous. It's just completely unacceptable. And
but even
because, yeah,
good.
So and because of that, mentality, everything kind of drops. Heads kind of drop. People start getting frustrated. You can just see the writing on the wall. I mean, yeah, like it's and that's what it is, right? We were doing very well in the first half. Defensively, offensively, we're okay. We were doing better than Cincinnati. Cincinnati looked like they weren't going to be able to make anything out of this game. They really were waiting for someone to just step up and take over. Evander kept trying, and it just wasn't happening for him. And I thought, okay, this is the type of game we can nick a result because Cincinnati just wasn't awake today. Evander just didn't show up. Because we have that happen to our guys once in a while. So I'm like, yeah, maybe it's time for them to not step up. Fortunately, that didn't end up being the case. But once Evander got that goal, that deflection, I mean, before that, like I said, they had nothing going on. And once that went in, now the crowd is back in it. Now the team feels reinvigorated. They feel confident. They get propelled forward. They keep pushing, and they're rewarded with a goal very shortly afterwards. And not only that, the momentum continued, and they were actually pushing and doing well, putting us on our back heel for the rest of the game, basically, outside of our occasional counterattack, and one that resulted in a fluky own goal, which, fair is fair. They got a fluky goal, we get a fluky goal. So, I'd be all right with a 1-1 result in this.
Right, exactly. But I think what's interesting about this match is that I think for FC Cincy, this is a match that's straight out of 2023, 2024 for us. Like, it seems like it's like Evander is equivalent to Thiago Almada. Like, basically, he bailed them out because they look flat-footed. They look like a team that, just looked uninterested. They were not really moving whatsoever, and they look static. And it's one of those, like, they're just trotting along and waiting for, a DP to pretty much take the reins and do something. And he did. But it is, like, a heartbreaker at the end for them. Great for us, but I think that's like deja vu for Atlanta United fans. It's like, a match that, I think it's at the end of the day, it's fair, but it's still kind of, it's one of those like, yeah, we rescued the point, but it's just like I said, it's this lingering feeling of like, we probably actually could have won this if our defense just held strong a little bit.
If that goal didn't go in off of that fluky deflection that honestly, if that didn't deflect, Guzan was all over that. Like, he had it marked, but like just ended up in the opposite part of the net that he expected to go to because of an awkward deflection. If that goal never goes in, I doubt Cincinnati has the confidence and has the momentum and has the energy and the fans even in the game to see out a result or even get one goal. They look like they weren't going to score shit this game, like in the first half. So like I fully expected, they just weren't in it today, and then they got lucky. All of a sudden, everything started turning around. It was very frustrating.
Yeah, but again, it's another game without a win though. But it is, considering the circumstances, you take the result and you run with it. Going into the match, like you would take this. Like I had it as a loss. So. Oh yeah,
easily. Absolutely easily had this at a loss for sure. Yeah. Drew, did you have this penciled in on your calendar as an obvious loss?
Audio might not be there yet, but yes, he's working on it.
Can you hear us at least? Cannot hear us, I guess.
Maybe not.
He can.
He can hear us, but he can't.
Now we can't hear him.
Speak. There we go. Now my settings are fixed.
All right, sounds good. So did you have this penciled in your calendar as a loss? This is definitely going to be not a great game for us.
Yes, I did. This was the boogeyman result that we always have at the beginning of the season going into international break. This is this result that I remember a couple years ago, the Columbus game where we got blown out, and it was... We just circle this on the calendar usually as this is a scheduled loss. Have fun.
Yeah. But, sorry to cut you off, but yeah, because you talk about the blown out bit, and it's like people, like I put that caption on, the match day post, and on Instagram, people were like pause and like acting like it was. Like, the most egregious thing to say, blown out. Yes, I understand what that means nowadays, but, I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah, it was a sports term before that, I'm pretty sure, but, it is what it is.
Exactly.
It definitely was.
But anyway, go on.
But it is... I'm glad to be back on here with you guys. It's been a crazy couple of weeks for me, and... to be honest, this is the first game I've been able to watch, so I'm going to kind of have a different perspective from a lot of people, and I'll go from it like this, and I think we do have to give this team some time. This team is going through a lot of change, and we look at the results, and we're not happy with it, and I'm not happy with it. But we have a new coach with a completely different system. We have technically three new DPs. We haven't had our starting 11 at all to start the season. And we're one win, 2 draws, and 2 losses. It's not great, but it's not horrible. And you can see that it is almost there in at least the offensive game. You can see that the chances are this close to being goals. And that gives me some hope that this can work, and it's just they need time to gel some more. Defensively scares me right now. But we are struggling with depth right now at that position just because of international and injuries.
Yeah, completely agree. I'm starting to think, of course you got to give this team time, and once they get the time and once they reach their full potential, is that even good enough to sustain getting like a top placement year in, year out? Or is it still kind of a middling type of team? Obviously, there are other teams in the league. It's not just us. They also have good rosters, and they have perhaps arguably better in some ways. So are we, even once this team fully gets there, do you suspect that, like, oh, yeah, we're at the bottom of the mountain. Once we get to the top, we're just going to be clearing these teams left and right? Or is it more like we go even with them? Or is it more like, we're not quite just going to be able to get to their level, and we'll just kind of be like, 7th, 6th, 5th place, kind of like no man's land?
I see this as a building season for this team.
Yeah, I'm asking, like, once they're at full power, full potential, where do you see them, like, consistently going?
I can see the building block to this team, and I can see this team fighting for a title every year.
Okay.
I don't know if it's this season. I think this season is the transition. I think what our expectations, we kind of set our expectations really high, but what I'm expecting of this team is fighting for a deep playoff spot, or a deep playoff run, going to conference finals, stuff like that. Maybe not getting into finals, but at least competing and looking to, like, we can go deeper.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we are fully there with our back line. I do not think our depth on the wing is amazing. But we are also we still have another transfer window. We can see what we can pick up at that point. I also do think that this team will be fighting for a top 4 playoff spot. I am giving this team till game 10 to 15 before I start going very hard at them if they're still like this. I think you got to take it in blocks of 5 right now, 5 games at a time. And we cleared the first one. It wasn't great, but it wasn't absolutely horrible. Now we go into the next one, see where we're at, and then we move on to the next one and see. And after that, we should know what this team is.
So 5 points in 5 games is not absolutely horrible to you.
It's not horrible, but it's not great. I think it's okay.
It's okay.
And right now, I'll take okay, just because, man,
I feel like 2 wins out of 5 is probably okay.
Yes, that's what I would have said.
Yeah, not this. But
I also look at the strength of schedule we have right now, and we couldn't have started worse.
No.
With the worst schedule. So
yeah, it is a bit of a leading question, I think, from Mike there, but because it is ultimately, yes, we have a very tough schedule, especially with players being out, not match fit, all that. Again, I hearken it back to, did we have a good preseason to be ready for the season? That's another aspect of it, because, yeah, it's like other teams are under the same gun, and ultimately, we didn't come ready enough. And, like, that's, again, the failure to prepare. And we all know what that saying says. And so, like, those are the realities. But the actual play in itself, though, like, how did you find it? Like, were you encouraged by some moments? Were there other aspects that drew some ire?
I don't know if this team is fully built for the style of Dyla. I feel like at times it works, but it feels like we almost commit to it too much at times. I feel like we need to build a little bit more at times, and we're still kind of figuring out the system, because you can see at times where you definitely should build, but they're just trying to go for it. And then at times you see they try to build a little bit more, and they should have played the long ball up and put the team under a lot more pressure. But I do think we've actually had some decent performances in this game. It kind of got buried in the the 2 goals, but Will Riley, he looked fabulous. He had the one really bad tackle, but other than that, he was playing solid, pretty much mistake-free soccer, and there was a couple chances where he tried to make a play, and that, for a midfielder in his position, that's what we asked for.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's like with Riley, it is something where expectations were low. Like, as far as like, yeah, I mean, we know he, is a homegrown. He has the ability, the potential, but I mean, the very fact that he was holding off players very well, the very fact that he was press resistant, he was finding the right pass as well, and always available. And then also, again, defensively, looks like a player that can, I think, break up some play too. I mean, it was everything that we needed of him. And also, Kemen Togashi coming in, where, he was expected to basically play a little bit of midfield. He played a little bit of left wing as well, and I mean, he was all over the place and doing a job. And really, I mean, like, most everyone that came in today, I think, exceeded expectations.
Yeah,
for the most part. There are the players that, of course, maybe you're gonna get to.
Yeah,
the Jerusalem, the ire, but I think it's that. It's like they did as much as they could, considering that they're not starters.
Yep.
They're basically depth players, and somehow we almost won this match, if not for defensive mistakes. That's in a 5-minute span.
Yeah. Say.
But yeah, I mean, as far as players that drew some ire from you,
Matt Edwards had a bad game. Just that first goal to concede and then have it come off of him like that, that's just bad. But he put himself in a bad position to have to concede that foul. And then on the second goal, you can see that he's pulled way too far in on the guy that Williams is already marking, and instead of taking the other guy, he's left wide open and in the back of our net. And that's just unacceptable. I know he's playing kind of out of position, but still, that's kind of unacceptable. Marinchuk, I didn't like his play in the first half as much, but once he was pushed a little deeper, I started to see a little bit better. Mm-hmm. I almost would like to see him drop deeper and let him just play the ball from a deeper position to kind of get more field to look at, because he's got great vision and can play a great ball. I honestly feel like maybe having him play back as like a 6 or an 8 might not be a bad idea.
I mean, I'm not going to say that I literally said this last time, but I'm going to say that I did say that.
And you did, and we talked about it during 5 Shark Weekly as well. I mean, it's like, for those that tuned in, it's basically, a deep-lying playmaker, I think, is probably the role for Marinchuk. But the difficulty is, do you have balance in the team if you do that? In a very attacking side, that maybe the defense, you're not even going to have to worry too hard, because maybe that attack is not going to do too much. And you can just basically play as many attackers as possible. Okay. But I think you're going to sacrifice some stuff defensively. And, if you're already sacrificing a little bit with Click, I mean, you're going to be sacrificing a lot, Manchuk. So it's, and then Click, yeah, coming on. How did you find his cameo?
It wasn't awful. He almost came in too late to really do much to sway me either way. You could see he was trying to carry the ball forward, trying to make the passes to try to tie the game. His positioning wasn't horrible, but you could see that there was a couple spots where you're like, yeah, that's not the right pass to play at this moment. But
Yeah.
I don't think it was awful, and he's coming back from injury. We'll see. We'll see next game.
Yeah, and he'll have to be essentially for sure because Muyamba. It seems like it's not too serious according to Doug Roberson, but
Heard it involves his knee, so that's always worrying.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So hopefully no ligament damage, but yeah, he's gonna get a scan. We'll find out, but either way, yeah, Click will need to be relied on heavily, more so now, and Riley as well. But yeah, I mean, it's one of these. Like as far as your overall thoughts on this game, like what are your thoughts?
If you would have told me coming into this game that we came out with a 2-2 draw, I would be a lot happier. But with how the result played out, it's kind of a mixed bag here. We'll take it right now, but I do think we need to start figuring out why we cannot have a good second half, why we cannot hold a lead, why we cannot have a lead for more than like 5-10 minutes without us sweating and waiting for the ball to go in the back of our
Why
net.
is this? I kept saying in the chat, why is this team so soft sometimes? They feel brittle. They get punched in the face, and then all of a sudden their plan goes out the window and they start panicking, making mistakes, and the other team starts resurging. It's like if the other team gets some momentum, they rise to the challenge. They raise their level because they know currently it's not enough, so they try and go a little bit more, and we just kind of don't go there. We just kind of stay where we were, and we kind of start getting run over in the second half, and it's a little, like you said, very concerning, and we need to figure out why that's happening.
Yeah, it's the second straight match that Emmanuel Atlutd he scores, and then we get scored on, and then we acquiesce, we get scored on again. But at the very least, we did this away, we get an equalizer. Somehow, I think, in a moment of positivity, I think here is that. Yeah.
I said it in the chat. I said puck luck finally went our way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit of that. It's like we have seen a lot of just the I guess unfortuitous moments happen to us so far already, and hopefully it's just all out of our system.
Yeah.
Like now we could just okay, that happened. We know how that feels now. Let's not continue the same feel.
Why can't we just have an Atlanta United game where like things don't go so strangely, where there's just fluky nonsense all the time? Like it's just like, I don't know, more straightforward soccer, I feel like, would be less damaging on the old ticker. So Drew, any one last thing from you, and then we gotta move on.
Let's just take this next set of 5 games. Let's turn this 5 points into 8-9 points and keep going from there.
Sounds good, bud.
All right, Drew. Well, always a pleasure, man. Have a great rest of your night.
See ya.
See you soon.
See ya. All right. Let me read a couple of these.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's do some housekeeping. Let's throw up the starting 11 graphic for Patreon.
Sure.
As well, please. And we.
So our starting 11 lineup for tonight: Nick in the ATL, Gavin Marshall, Jeff Vanderland, and Drew that we just saw on the stream. Thank you very much, everybody, at our highest tier. So thank you very much for giving your patronage, I guess, to us is what you'd say, to keep the lights on and to keep us doing what we're doing. Thank you, everybody.
Exactly. Thank you so much. And if you want to see your name on that starting 11 graphic, then join us on there as well.
Let me look at a couple of these things here. Maverick in his cuisine says, "What's good, guys? This 1 point felt like 3 points. First off, shout out to the homegrown Riley in his debut, held his own after the early yellow card. I'm sick of complaining about Pro, but for all the fouls called in the first half, there is no excuse for Atlutd not getting a penalty kick after getting swept off his feet like a Nicholas Sparks novel." He also says, "A few questions I had to listen to the game and missed a bit of the second half. How did the momentum shift in the second half, and how badly did we drop off?" Again, we don't know why that kind of happens. It seems to be a weird mentality issue, and we're not. Oops. Niall, I can hear myself echoing on your side.
Yeah, I muted Niall real quick. So, basically just turn down your audio. Fine after that.
Let me finish that. So he also says, "I'll reserve my harsh criticisms until May, but man, I have yet to see this team play a full 90 plus at a consistent level. Is it chemistry? Is it just lack of time together? Next time on Dragon Ball Z. All right, I'll shut up. Besides, I've got to go check my watch. It's still stuck on Sapa time." Nice. Emmanuel Gasper says, "I would like to see more of Tagashi." Shannon Sharp says, "Hope it's not a strategy. The intensity exists most times, but we need to see clarity, identity, repetition of patterns, expression of players, and hunger." Yeah, like patterns of play, systems. I think we definitely need to see more of that. Point on the road, TJR says, "Take it. Still hard to believe this roster has given us our worst ever Atlanta United start to a season so far in 5 games." That's a hard pill to swallow, considering things. There's a lot of, extenuating circumstances and context to that, but it is what it is, and that's an unfortunate stat. Shannon says, "Good point on the road, though, with a number of players missing." They're saying Drew made a very good point at one point. I don't know exactly what they were talking about. But Drew does make a lot of good points. Shannon says, "I like Wiley, but mistake-free is a stretch." I think you mean Will Riley, not Wiley. Is a stretch. Yeah. His pass completion was 85%, lost the ball at least 13 times. We can be better. It's like, yeah, I mean, I agree. I noted down quite a few times where I think 3 or 4 times where Riley he tried to make ambitious passes and they just went nowhere, and they were just off the same, not on the same page whatsoever. Specifically one with Saba where I was like, okay, just not clearly you guys don't play together a lot. So that's kind of to be expected. They also said Edwards made an unnecessary tackle, but to say he had a quote bad game is a stretch. I don't think he had a good game. But it's tough because you're up against Evander. Most people are going to get eaten by Evander, and unfortunately Edwards was pretty much eaten alive by him today. But he overall, it's not like a giant calamity. It's not like he was just completely demolished. It was just, a very good number 10 in this league made you look a little silly, and that's going to happen to even very good defenders in this league. So it's not really a slight that much on Edwards. It's kind of just going to happen.
There's context is that he's a fullback.
Yeah.
And he's playing as a center back, and this is his first year with the club. Yeah, so, fans saying like, "Oh, I never want to see Edwards again," that whole thing. It's like, he's just not ready, but he's being pulled into these positions where he has to pretty much do a part where he's not, I think seasoned enough. He doesn't have the experience in these moments to actually do the right thing. And he's doing as well as he could, and against the likes of like Azaha, where he, I think was doing quite well until he got found out. That's the thing. It's like the good players are going to figure out how to beat you. And so, he's the weak link of that defense. Yeah. That's not a slight to him.
And exactly. He's the like I said in Discord, it's not his fault that these things are happening to him either. It is what it is. So, anyway, Niall, welcome. How are you doing? What did you think of? We can just start with Edwards and what happened with all that, with the goal, the deflection, his decision making that kind of created the situation. How did you feel about his play today?
I thought he was decent. I mean, look, like you guys already brought up, he's put in a tough situation. He's not playing in his natural position. Also, he's a young player, so he's gonna make those types of mistakes. I thought he was fine. The foul was a bit unfortunate, and to concede that goal was pretty annoying, especially in that spot. But at the end of the day, those mistakes are gonna happen. That's why he's, no offense to Matt Edwards, but that's why he's not a starter yet. He's still developing as a player. So I think the idea of fans saying, "Oh, like I don't want to see Edwards again," is kind of, I think that's
Yeah.
a little bit silly in my opinion, because
Yeah.
listen, he's young, and let's not pretend that Wiley, for example, did not make those mistakes as well when he was playing with Atlanta. That's part of the learning curve with these players. They have to make mistakes in order to grow. So
Yeah, absolutely. So what else did you take from this game? Some positives, and if not, you can also always jump into the negatives.
I'll do the positives first. I think, to get a point against a really good team is something that I think you can take away from this match. It's not easy to play at TQL and get a result there. I think that Saba had a really good match on the right. He was causing problems for the defense. Latte Loth as well just keeps on banging goals. I think that's like 4 goals in 5 games now for him. So the idea of him scoring double-digit goals doesn't seem that crazy to me. And yeah, I think Will Riley as well. Starting this match, that was definitely like a big game for him. But to me, like it just seemed like the pressure didn't really, affect him that much. He was making a lot of good passes. He looked very sharp, and that's somebody that I look forward to seeing more of based on this game. So now that we got into the positives, I'll talk about the negatives. I think it's frustrating to see this team drop a lead once again. This is like the second straight time we've dropped a lead, especially since when we're dominating the opposition. Like, let's be real about this. Before Evander's goals, since he was not great at all, and they were struggling defensively. So the idea of us not being able to hold on to the lead, that's a big issue, and that's not just something that's happened this season. It's happened the last season, seasons past as well. So there's still things that from the past that I think are still lingering with this team, and that has to be sorted, especially if this team wants to be a top 4 team in the East. They gotta cut out those mistakes.
Do you attribute it, at least some of it, is to mentality? Do you think that would you describe the team as soft?
I don't know if I would go as soft, but I do think there is an issue of, I think sometimes the players are maybe a bit too, I feel like we kind of, as a team, when we score first, I think we kind of, our intensity after that kind of drops off, and you can't really do that.
Which is crazy. You think it would go up,
Yeah.
like blood in the water and all that, but that's crazy that it doesn't continue.
Yeah. And I think also, I think this is something that also, Ronnie Diallo kind of mentioned, but the idea of, just in game anxiety as well. I think that's also potentially something as well. You're up a goal, you want to try and score more, but you also at the same time don't want to concede a goal as well. So it's really hard to put one finger on it, but I definitely think there's definitely some sort of mentality issue. I wouldn't go as far to say as the team's soft or anything, but I would say there's definitely some issues in terms of having the right focus to see out a game.
That's a good point. I think it's once you score a goal, that's when you're most susceptible to being scored on. And I think that's that moment where, okay, you need to batten down the hatches, make sure the next 5 minutes, you just you lock everything down and you make sure you don't make mistakes. But ultimately, it's the homegrown that makes the mistake. It's if you're gonna say whoever made the mistake, it's the homegrown. That kind of makes the most sense. It's if it's somebody else that's a little bit more experienced, I think you can have a go at them a little bit more. But it's not that. It's like, yeah, it's the guy who, probably shouldn't have, scissored the guy, in a pretty much near the D. It's like, why would you make that tackle? It's inexperience.
And I mean, he almost did it twice too. There was around in the 12th minute of the game, he gets a late tackle on the guy, but gets bailed out by Tristan Mayumba, who got the ball away from the guy like a second before Edwards came in, because that could have been some real disaster right there early on.
Yeah. I mean, there were some very close tackles, like, woo, like could have gone another way, all that. But I want to touch on Saba on the right. You said he looks really good, and also Moranchuk, he looked, I think, a little bit better in terms of running the game without maybe Miggy in the side. But I guess it's also this Shande Silva. Did he make any sort of
he was playing today?
Yeah, exactly. Did he make any way roads and earning his spot back?
No. I mean, this is something that like other people were bringing up as well, I'm sure, but that he kept losing the ball in like so many different instances, and like he couldn't make like just a simple pass. So the idea of like having Shande take Muyamba's place just doesn't sit well with me personally. So like for me, I feel like Shande has to kind of step up his level a bit if he wants to be in the starting role, because for me he's not doing it. There were constantly several times where he would lose the ball, and I think Guzan at one point had a go at him. So it's just not great from him.
Yeah, he didn't have a single shot, I don't think.
Almiron. Yeah, I think you meant Almiron, but yeah, either way.
Yeah, I read that as Almiron in my head.
Yeah, but it's also this. It's like, if we were to say, okay, well, maybe Saba should stay on the right, where do you shift the other players? Because if Saba, he does look dangerous and in more combination as well with Lennon, because they can move each other up the pitch with, that chemistry that they already have. Where would the other players go?
I mean, I guess be with Miggy on the left and Moranchuk on the middle. For me, I'm not necessarily sold on the idea of playing Moranchuk on the wing. That's for me something that I don't necessarily see happening, unless the other option is like people maybe have said, like idea of just putting Moranchuk on the bench. But for me, I don't think that's necessarily going to help the team, because for me, I don't want Shande Silva to be in that starting wing position. So for me, I think you got to keep Moranchuk in the starting lineup, and unfortunately, the number 10 role is his best position, so I think Miggy's gonna have to stay on the wing. And I don't know about necessarily moving Miggy to the left, because, I don't know, it's he's mostly played as a right winger, so besides being a center attacking midfielder, so it's hard to kind of necessarily change that much, to be honest.
Yeah, because there is a bit of that. I mean, it's like if you change too much within the squad, it's going to unsettle it even more when you're already trying to build the chemistry. But there is that, kind of, some people are suggesting, okay, maybe drop Moranchuk a little bit further back. Well, then, okay, maybe you do play, Moranchuk and Miggy in the middle, and then, I don't know what you do with Click, but he's just somebody that comes on later, I suppose. Or, because you're saying, Shande Silva, that's probably the next kind of most obvious option, at least in order to bring in. But then that's the thing. It's like, we're not really flush with those type of options either. It pretty much is that front four is the front four, and it's just okay. they just need to switch wings probably a little bit more often, allow Saba to kind of have that freedom, because I think we've seen that. When he's on the right, he looks way more comfortable,
And it's
way
less
more of a
inversion,
danger.
less congesting the middle as well.
Exactly. So it's a tough one. But anyway, yeah, if you had thoughts on it.
Or just final thoughts now.
Oh,
Final thought.
you were asking me.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
AJ doesn't care what I think. He only cares about the guests think. It's okay.
I thought he was asking you, but anyway.
He knows what I think. I badger him all the time about what I think. So this is your chance.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think also part of the issue is also chemistry, right? Like, we've not really had our best 11 on the pitch consecutively. That's been an issue. So for me, I think what I'm interested in to see is like in the next couple of games if the chemistry can get any better. But yeah, I mean, just overall, it's they're still the same patterns that are repeating. The idea of just giving up leads and just not necessarily having the same intensity for a consistent 90 minutes. That's also a big issue. But you know, this team now has 3 home games that they need to take advantage of, because that we need to start winning some games now. We're almost at that point where, you know, it's becoming closer to May, and that's where it really starts to get more definitive. And you know, this team can't afford to continue to be near the bottom of the East.
Yeah, it's starting to get to that. You know, it's definitely not business, but it's definitely like, yeah, if you get into summer, gotta be in some summer form at the very least, and we're far from. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, also like a huge like away like sort of I think there's a certain period in the summer where we're away for like a couple
during
couple
Club
months.
World Cup time.
Yeah, you gotta take advantage, start taking advantage of your home matches, because that road period, I'm not necessarily I'm not at all optimistic about it, considering how poor we are out on the road. So
Yeah, and even in spite of all that, in spite of having 10 players out, we still maybe could have won this match if it wasn't game state.
Yeah.
that's a
It's wild. Anyway, Niall, thank you so much, man. Happy rest of your night.
nice.
Thanks,
guys.
buddy. Happy Ramadan. Okay, let's see. Let's get our last guest coming in and read the last bit of comments that we have on this Saturday afternoon. Connor Thompson says, hey, since he is mad. Anytime we steal a point is all good. Anger is saved for New York City FC. It'll be interesting. Ronnie Dyla going up against his old club, so that'll be fun.
Yep.
And a not necessarily hot NYCFC team either, so it could be interesting. Yeah. Just 1 second. So yeah, not a lot of comments today, guys. If you have some more questions or comments, get them in before we finish up with our last guest, so we can get you guys out of here on time. Nick is joining us. Nick, how are you doing?
What up, Mike? What up, AJ? You know, I need a drink, and that's on the schedule for after this, so I'm excited. But
Nice.
also, it was a fun game. You know, it was better than last week. That's for sure. The vibes are better for me, at least. How about you guys?
Yeah, I mean,
It's bittersweet. It's bittersweet because, like Drew said earlier in the show, this game could have gone a different way. It felt like it probably should have, and it's just really unfortunate with kind of the way it got to where it got to. But when, like, if you look at it, 2-2 away at Cincinnati International Break, you're gonna take that every time. So.
Oh, absolutely. And like, I'm probably not the first person to say this today. You know, you offer me 2-2, and like right when I sit down, I'm like, oh, that will be fun. You know, I'm sure like we'll get something entertaining out of that. That's usually how a 2-2 goes. Just having that lead, like off such a gorgeous goal and intelligent throw in by Togashi.
Yeah.
And then to blow it the way it gets blown is like, oh God, really? And And I'll talk about Matt Edwards first, because I just don't even know how much you can really blame him. Like, you're, and this is where my soccer knowledge is gonna get the best of me here. But when you're part of a wall, if they just hit it right at you, like, did they target him? Like, I don't know how that works, but you gotta feel bad for Brad and for Matt there. Like, it's hard to blame them specifically when Evander puts in a good free kick. It's Evander. He was an MVP finalist for a reason, and his second goal, just chaos in the box. Like, was Matt Edwards great today? No. Is anyone's seventh choice center back, whatever, going to be great today? Probably not. Like, I don't know. I think when we're up 1-0, like, you really want us to hold it down and get that result. But winning 1-0 on the road against a team that won the Shield a couple years ago, it's got a lot of those pieces still there, and they were missing significantly less pieces than we were too. So no one from someone in another Discord tried to get at me to be like, well, Cincinnati's missing pieces too.
Well,
Okay,
the commentators were literally just like, oh, this incredibly depleted Cincy team, and I'm like, have you seen our side?
Please, I can count them on one hand, right?
Yeah.
Come on.
Right.
Yeah, Danny Hay is the center backs. Come on.
2 hands. Exactly. So it's that. Yeah, I mean, to speak about the wall, I mean, that's the thing. It's center backs are usually in the middle of that wall. And, well,
if Gian Gregerson's there and he's got 6 inches on Matt Edwards, like,
yeah,
I don't know.
And a little bit more girth, probably. I mean, it's like not a ton.
Probably.
And experience, yeah.
Right.
That
So
that goes
pro
differently.
soccer on him.
That game state is definitely changed by having the players who are supposed to be in those positions playing in those positions. So
Yes, and I think the other thing I don't really want to hear any of, which I've heard a little bit of this, just scrolling social media and things like that since the game ended, was like, oh well, we just got it on a fluky own goal. I mean, like we had created over 1.8 xG according to, I think it was FOTMob, and then one Spot Track had us at 1.3 in the first half. Like, that's the same amount of xG we had in the entire Miami game. Like,
yeah.
It's not like we were sitting there doing nothing. Like, sure, we got a little lucky with the fluky own goal, but we'd created our chances. If we may have felt differently about it if one of those goes in too. So I just can't sit here and feel too negative about it after all that.
I mean, the way I see it, it's a wash because we got a fluky goal and so did they. So it's
Absolutely.
not like they completely deserved and worked for that deflected goal. It's like, no, since he wasn't, like you said, kind of building to anything. They just felt like listless in this game.
Yeah, and they took advantage of a good free kick in a good spot. Like, don't get me wrong, but that's a great cross in from Saba. If he doesn't deflect that in, then it's probably getting to Latte Life. Like, he's right there. And that's why, like, you have to force the center back to make a play with a good cross and your runners being where they're supposed to be and timing it correctly and everything. I think that's a big deal. So you got to earn those own goals most of the time. Some of them are comical, and that wasn't what we had today. So
yeah, and it's like, I mean, they had a makeshift center back that made a mistake. We also as well, and I mean, it's just like, yeah, it equaled out. But I think something that we were talking about with Niall, with Saba on the right, with the attack kind of at least looking better on the right than at least in games past. What do you feel like as far as keeping Saba on the right and shifting anybody, or would you kind of keep it the status quo when Miggy's back?
It's really tough because Saba looks really good today. I thought, not that Moranchuk has been fantastic in any game this season. I thought this was one of the ones where he was maybe closer to good rather than closer to bad, if that makes sense. You wonder what it would look like with Miggy out on the left. One question I have, you saw Saba and Jonde switch several times, especially towards the end of the first half. Mm-hmm. Why don't Saba and Miggy do that? Like, is that just a thing like Miggy's not going to go over there, so Saba just has to go over there? Like, I would be really interested to know. Like, maybe we should bother Henry in our Discord and have him ask at training this week if that's a thing or not, if that they've worked on or anything. I'd be really interested to see what that would look like within a game. I'm not sure I'm very structured on like, oh, he has to be on the right, he has to be on the left. I think you want your wingers to be able to go on either side and switch up the play.
I'm sure Miggy has freedom. I'm sure Ronnie gives me freedom, but I don't know about the specifics.
Yeah, Yeah, and I'm sure Mickey has freedom too. Like that's probably like he comes in all the time. Like he's like in the Anatomy of a Goal article last week. Like him coming in created that whole sequence where Lennon goes over the top and everything. Like, so I think I want to see more data points with all three guys here. I wrote this in my column that's going to come out in a couple of days. I really just want to see like 10, 12 games with all those guys here. Especially with no Copa America this summer, like they're all going to be here for most of the summer, unless we have anybody called up to Gold Cup, which Brad's not going, so I'm not sure who else would go for the U.S. and anything like that. No one else is really a CONCACAF international on our team. They mostly go to CONMEBOL or to Europe. So we're going to get some data points with these guys here, and I think I want maybe 5-6 more games before I make a huge like this is how I feel, this is my line in the sand type thing. I think I just want to see more freedom for the three guys, and it seems like with Ronnie's system, he's very structured at the back and is going to let the four guys figure it out. And right now, it's only working for Latte Laugh.
Or Nick, you could make a very hasty judgment right now, and then if you end up being right in 5 games, you'll look like a genius.
Well, I'm not sure I like my odds there, except for maybe the Cayman Togashi is actually pretty good. Maybe that's signing that's going to pan out. But that's maybe my only. Well,
one thing you don't have to guess about is that Tristan, while he was in, I thought had one of the best games he's ever had for us. He looked very good. His defense was incredible. I thought he was doing a very good job this game.
That's 3 games in a row now. I hope he's not out for too long. I think either you guys or one of the past guests Doug said they don't think it's a ligament or don't think it's super serious. So maybe he's only out a couple weeks. Like you want to see him continue that. I agree. Especially if Click's not going to get into games very much. Like if Click is going to have availability issues, I mean he's 35. He's probably not going to play 3,000 minutes this year. So I think you really wanted to see that at Tristan, and you're getting it. So I agree with you. Yeah. Maybe Tristan should play 10. Maybe that's the answer. That's my hasty take for the day.
Interesting. I mean, I don't know about that, but Will Riley though. I mean, he I think earned some plaudits. But what were your thoughts on Riley?
It was really funny to watch him try the through ball like a couple times in the first 20 minutes. It was like, man, he really wanted to show that he could do that, and if he could time that up, that'd be great. It was interesting seeing him in preseason. He mostly played as the 10 when Moranchuk was not there. And now seeing him as an 8 today, I was kind of like, wait, is he our most press-resistant midfielder? Like, if Tristan's not going to be over there doing that, is he a guy that maybe needs to see kind of those last 15, 20 minutes of games when teams are coming at you, maybe looking for a tying goal at home like Jade used to do? Does he need to do that, especially if Tristan's going to be out for 3-4 weeks? Like, I think he's going to make the bench. I think he's going to get some more minutes, and I don't think that's a bad thing at all. You get your midweek games in May coming up. It gets congested. May always does for some reason. It's always the month of May. I don't know why that is. And, I think he's earned his way onto the bench for some more appearances, especially if Click's not going to be healthy and you get to choose between, like, Click, who can only do 15 minutes and we might have to pull him out anyways after he goes on, and Will Riley. Maybe you're giving that chance to Will Riley.
So here's a player no one has talked about yet. Second game back for Brooks Lennon. How did you think he did?
I think the fullbacks, and I apologize, I'm getting over some cold symptoms. I think the fullbacks, it kind of looked like they had instructions to stay home today and assist with defense more so than maybe they usually would. Because through the first 4 games, Xion was like playing like a Defender of the Year candidate back there, like cleaning stuff up and winning races against opposition attackers and everything. And without him back there, I really think they were kind of like, hey, we're going to stay back today. I didn't think Lennon was bad at all. I really just didn't notice him. When maybe the only smart thing the color commentator said was like, oh, we haven't said Brooks Lennon's name going forward much today. And maybe that was by design. Like maybe it was like, hey, we've got a very young right back playing center back there, makeshift center back, and like we need you to just stay home and do the dirty work, and like we'll let Saba be himself on his natural side, and that's our creation. You saw Lennon overlap a couple times, but it wasn't like we're used to seeing.
Yeah, I'm looking at his heat map right now. Like the vast majority is in our half.
Interesting. What website do you find the heat map on?
SofaScore.
SofaScore. So you're gonna go on SofaScore.
Yeah, you just bring up the player, and then you click on them. They'll give you a heat map and what they did, their specific things. Interestingly, also about this game, just like to nail the what AJ was talking about earlier about how kind of almost feels like we could have won this game. We should have won this game maybe. They at least have the expected goals for us at 2.15 and Cincinnati 0.74. So
wow.
It seems like they punched way above their weight in terms of scoring, with very few and limited and not very high quality chances. And we had a bunch of decent chances, and we scored on 2 of them. So,
and don't forget, we might not be having some of our negative feelings about Moranchuk if he doesn't smash the bar in the 5th minute or whatever that was, the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's true.
If that like hits the bar and goes down and in like Jacob Glesnes did a couple years ago at the Benz, like
oh god,
that's like the bad memories right there.
Yeah.
That was just like the worst cursed time for Atlanta.
Moranchuk, almost the worst rating from SofaScore on our team today. Who was the second worst, tied with Matt Edwards.
Not surprised.
So
that's so interesting because.
I was actually guess who was the worst rated? You will probably be surprised by this.
You said he's tied with Matt Edwards, so it's not Matt Edwards.
No, he's below.
He's below Matt.
Yeah.
It's one of the starters, I'm assuming, too, right? Not one of the
subs.
It is
a starter.
It's a starter. So I'm not going to say Will Riley. That was my mind went.
It was not Riley. Riley had a 7.3. One of our third best player on the team. Yeah, Pedro Amador was a 6.3.
Really?
The worst performing player according to SofaScore.
So it's funny, while you were looking at SofaScore, I pulled up FotMob. I was looking at it before I came on while Niall was on. And Pedro is 3rd worst here. They have Moyumba 3rd highest, which maybe he was highest when he came off. He was our only player in green at halftime. They got Latte Lath and Saba 7.7, 7.6, respectively, which probably deserved. So you think was our lowest player? I'll give you a guess for FotMob.
Edwards?
Edwards? Well, yes, definitely Edwards. The second lowest one surprised me. Who was second lowest?
Don't say Brad Guzan. Is it Brad Guzan?
They have Brad Guzan second lowest on the team today. I think that's harsh. That's harsh.
Yeah, he couldn't have done anything about this.
I mean,
he made a good save as well. Yeah, like it was.
He had an incredible save.
That's right. There was a couple in the first half. I was like, okay, 40-year-old, that's awesome. Great, keep it up. Like, he's done nothing to say that he's not still the keeper he was at the end of last season, for me at least. Like, sure, he looks really stupid on the... he does the most annoying thing ever when he looks stupid on the, like, fall over thing he does. But as a Tottenham fan, I do not miss Hugo Lloris just standing there like he used to do for 10 years. So every time I watch LAFC get scored on, I'm like, I don't miss that. But I think Guzan makes himself look worse there, and he's got to
go for it.
If you know you're going the wrong way, just dive. Like if you got fooled by the deflection, just sell it, man.
Yeah, I mean, he probably doesn't want to like injure himself, so he just falls over.
I mean, I feel that like running into the post would be like the scariest thing ever to me if I was a keeper or any sort of like defending a set piece or anything like that. I would be terrified of that. Those things are hard.
What it looks like though, it's like if he does dive, like commit to the wrong way, it looks like a bad soccer movie where like basically the goals that are scored, like the goalkeepers are always diving the wrong way, and it's just like, what is happening? Like this isn't realistic at all. But when you think about it, like if it was a deflected shot, okay, maybe. But yeah, most of those goals in soccer movies are not deflected shots. They're like, they like score a worldie and then the keeper's diving the complete opposite direction. It's like,
listen, he sent them one way with his hips and went the other way. That's what happened.
Hips don't lie, except for this.
Okay, Shakira. But so I mean, ultimately, it's a match that, again, I've mentioned it. Maybe we should have won. How do you feel?
I mean, it's hard. It's hard thinking like, you're down, 12, 13 players once Tristan goes off and you're going to get this win. But you look back at it through the last time we've been playing through this March international break the last couple of years, we went 6-1 loss, 2-0 loss last year. They were just as bad in that 2-0 loss to Toronto last year as they were in Columbus. To this game where you're like, oh wow, maybe like we really can get something out of it and it gets snatched from you. I don't think my expectations were ever on a win today. I think my expectations were on an improved performance with who we had. And I think we got that overall. Like, I don't think they faded in the second half, and I don't think they faded in the second half against Miami either. I think, if they can come home and put that narrative to bed next week, that would be the best thing ever. But I think...
You don't think they let off the gas in the second half of this game?
It's really hard because, like, it goes back to the Matt Edwards center back thing and your makeshift back line, and at that point, Will Riley and Alexei Miranchuk is your defensive double pivot with, like, Cayman Tagashi helping out and coming back on defense. Like, I can't blame those guys for giving up fouls and giving up that second goal. I think expecting a clean sheet there is expecting a lot. Now, and that goes into the type of goals we've conceded this season. What is it now? Like eight goals in 5 games? Is that right? The 2 in the opener, 2 in Charlotte, 2 against Miami, and 2 today. So 8, yeah. And at some point, like, the individual mistakes aren't just individual mistakes anymore. But I don't think this is the game to call it that. I think this is the game where we're like, oh wow, we're not losing this game at halftime. We look really good. Like, we could get something from this, and then it gets taken from you and given right back. Like, I can't be mad that they didn't win this one.
Yeah.
So that's just me, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's according to MLS's momentum index, like, we precipitously fell off compared to Cincinnati at the second half. From the eye test, I could definitely tell the guys didn't want to. They were running, they were hustling, they were trying. Yes. It's not like as if momentum doesn't mean like they just stop and they start walking, right? It's more so that Cincinnati just surged, and it was hard for us to keep up with that new level they established. And like I said earlier, it's that when the other teams seem to step their level up in some way, and even this often happens in the second half when they get refreshed or they change a tactic in some way or whatever, we just don't kind of go up a gear to match it. And then that looks like the other team is their momentum is just way higher than ours. So that's probably what I believe is likely going on with that. It's not so much that, someone could take the narrative of just like, oh, well, they just, they've given up. And I don't think that's the case. It just is more like they're not going up to the next gear to meet the other team that clearly saw that this game demands that they need to step up in order to win. And so they do. And now we're just going, well, we were already at our max, so sorry,
And so if we had just finished the Red Bulls match or the Miami match, I would 100% agree with you. Because there's in both of those games, like, there's tangible things. And really at Charlotte too, there's tangible things that the opponent does that we don't respond to.
Yeah.
Here, like, I don't think we had anything else in our bag today. Like, if you look at the bench, the only 3 first-teamers on the bench came on. Like, we didn't have anything else. Saba was gassed. Was that the first time Latte Lath has gone 90 minutes today, or was it?
It might be.
It might be. It's either first or second. He didn't do it last week, and he didn't do it against Red Bulls either.
Yeah.
So first time in a while. And
his backup striker was already in the match, so it's pretty much.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Not much you can do there, and I mean, you're not throwing those 2 players into a tie game on the road against the Shield leaders from 2 years ago. Like, it's Derek. Like, I hope Derek's hamstring is okay for next week. The way he was holding it at the end of the match too. Yeah. Like, they just looked like it looked like we had 14 players to play, and then you subbed somebody on 30 minutes earlier than you were planning to. So, yeah, I definitely think there's something to that. Next week against NYC, if it happens again, well, that'll be something for us to talk about. Definitely. I think if we can, I mean, God, we've got a 3-game homestand coming up. We got to get 6 points minimum, hopefully 9. But it's hard to wish for 9 and know that think that 9 is a realistic possibility. But God, it's against Dallas and the Revs and New York City. Like, oh God, none of those 3 teams are going to make the playoffs this year. Yeah. Maybe NYC, but
Dallas can be tough. The other ones, I think, they should be wins. They should be wins, I think.
Yes.
So Dallas should be tough because of
our favorite short man.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
But final thoughts, Nick.
I think that's it. It's almost hard to take anything away from this one because it was so random and fun and exciting. But that's soccer sometimes. That's why we love it. And that's my closing thought.
That's true. I mean, that maybe we belabor that for a second so people understand. You know, it's hard to take datum from this game because a lot of what happened in this game is not exactly going to be what we intend to do when we have our full complement in. So we have to be a little bit, you know, cautious with trying to extrapolate what we see here.
Yeah, and I think on that, it's like the amount of long balls that we've actually played and diagonals, I think, was way more than we usually do.
Yeah,
because,
not a lot of building out of the back.
Yeah, we had to bypass parts of our build-up because realizing, yeah, okay, you have like major pieces that you usually build through to connect lines, and you don't have them. So yes.
And to that point, AJ, you know what I did see some today that I'm happy about? Offside calls. I saw a bunch of them. So I want to see more of those.
God, y'all remember when we used to get pissed at Joseph for being offside too much, and now we're like, please be offside, somebody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think my last soccer thought is I'm actually pretty happy with the depth on the team this season. Like, Mascara won us a game. Tagashi got us a goal with a throw-in today. Will Riley looked really good in his first game. Matt Edwards really has been, I would say he's been pretty positive over 5 games, like knowing that he's probably a solid bench piece for the next couple seasons. And like he can do a job at right back, he can do a job at left back, and if he's the emergency center back, you could do worse. I think the depth of this team is actually pretty good for the first time in several years. I think that's my closing thought.
Completely agree with that. And I like Edwards' mentality, even though he is running into some buzzsaws in this league, that he is, I think, getting out every day when he's playing, when he puts on the shirt, he gets out there and realizes the other team is going to target him. And he goes, bring it on. I'm going to give you my all. And I really like that about him. It reminds me of, you know, Wiley as well, with his tenacity and his ferocity of not backing down against really big name legendary players. So I was really happy to see that. And I still think, even though he is, like we talked about, still learning, getting experience, and he will be exposed occasionally, he's still not shying down from these challenges. So that's really good.
Yeah, and it's making it better, and that's what you want out of your supplemental roster, homegrown guys, bench guys. Like, that's what you want. You need those guys on your team. So, all right, guys, have a good one. I'm going to go get my beverage now.
All right, sounds good. Enjoy.
Right,
cheers.
See you guys later. Thanks.
Yep, cheers.
Thank you.
All right, so let me read the last bit of comments that we got here, and then we will be able to head out soon. Omar GS says, we dominated the game. After the Cincy goal, our team fell apart, but we got lucky with the own goal. ELL needs better service. The one good pass he got, he put the ball on the back of the net. Jack Dickens says, Zonde was really poor again. I thought Mayumba, before he went down, was impressive. Yep. TEEM says, do it. Are you channeling Shia LaBeouf by any chance? Jack Dickens also says, I agree, Mike, on Tristan 1000%. So yeah, with that, if you guys have any more comments or questions, get them in real quick before we head out of here. But yeah, AJ, I guess all that's left is to get your final thoughts on this game.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's a game where we, it's Helter Skelter. We made it more interesting than we probably should have, but considering the level of players that were starting, you can really only expect this. And the very fact that, I think we pulled out a result, shows some resilience, shows some tenacity in that we didn't give up. And I think that's all we can ask for in these type of matches, especially when we've seen much, much worse, and especially in Ohio. So yeah, even though I said, pray for rain, I think during our podcast, it's like, I'm glad there wasn't rain, because that would have been actually kind of a little bit of a shit show, actually, because we haven't been really playing well in kind of adverse conditions in recent years. So ultimately we rescue a point. It's a game that I think they can proudly, get on the plane back. But yeah, I think 5 points out of 5 games, not good enough. And yeah, we need to absolutely step up for the next 5 games, like Drew was saying. And yeah, I think at least 7 points. So
Yeah.
here we go.
Hopefully that's something we can do and look forward to. Yeah, hearing no more comments, we will finish up here. So yeah, AJ, sign us out.
All right, everybody. Well, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. That's Michael. I'm AJ. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Good night.